Welcome everybody. My name is Spindler, and I've got a presentation for you today that I think applies to everybody. Even though this is a Microsoft on Microsoft's facility, the facility really is vendor neutral, if you will. So before I get into the actual presentation, let me kind of cover a couple things. Yesterday, I gave a presentation on what's new with Microsoft technology. And if you weren't here, there are a couple terms that I'd like to throw out that you should be teaching your students. And my guess is nobody's heard of any of these. One is Docker. Anybody familiar with that? These are open source initiatives that Microsoft is now backing and supporting. So Docker, Opal, TPM, Chocolatey, the FIDO Alliance. Any of those terms make any sense? FIDO Alliance you've heard of? Is that pretty interesting? Yeah, so what's interesting is, and it's an open source, right, or it's, yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, there's several. So before I get into my actual presentation, let me tell you a couple other things. I teach at City College in San Francisco, and for the last 6 years, we've been monitoring, my students and I have been monitoring the job market. And I brought this up at the last MPIC conference. The #1 job that companies are looking for is DevOps. And if you're not teaching DevOps, you're doing your students a disservice. The jobs are decreasing that we're seeing in the Bay Area is IT pro or IT infrastructure. Those jobs are on the decline. DevOps. Okay, and DevOps is actually what's leading to one of the issues that we have with security. So let's move on here. So wait, I didn't follow you. Security jobs are definitely on the rise, and I got to tell you, they are sprouting up in places that I would never dream of. And so Dan Manson gave a talk yesterday about cyber competitions. I got to tell you, get your students involved. I would dump security curriculum, teach them how to do cyber competitions. We'll talk about that, and I'll show you why in the presentation. The other thing, I was horrified at that one of the colleges where I teach, we teach Office, and one of the components of Office is OneNote. If you're not teaching your students OneNote, you're doing them a disservice. And everybody know what OneNote is? Okay, if you don't know what OneNote is, it's a notebook, and it's a virtual notebook. My entire life is in OneNote. I have probably 10 years or 12 years of information in OneNote. And I can find things that may be a password from 5 years ago. All my credit card accounts, everything is in there. The reason that I tell my students to do this is because they see them trying to, type on a computer, and the tool they usually use is Word. And Word is the wrong tool for this because they need pages, they need to put images in, they need to be able to put in videos, links to web pages, all kinds of content. And we talked about this yesterday. Next time we get together, I should give a session just on OneNote. But this is in the cloud. It's on Android. It's on Surface. It's on Apple. It's on every single platform. And they designed it specifically for students in mind. It does a lot more. But the first day of class, I make sure that my students know how to use OneNote. And I have one woman that had never heard of it before. She has the most beautiful notes, and they're mine, because I made her turn them into me. Much better than mine. Yes? Oh, yes, and Word doesn't, or Excel doesn't. What are they, on drugs? I don't know. I know. I mean, I got to tell you, I was shocked at the school that I teach. We've got the Office instructor who teaches the Office suite, and I said, great, make sure that you teach every student OneNote. And her response was, yeah, Never heard of it. I said, it came out in 2003. How could you not hear of it? And that's what you teach. So teach your students OneNote. It's on every platform, and it syncs. And if you're an instructor, you can make a OneNote notebook that you can share with all of your students. And they can put information in, so it's an excellent sharing tool. Yeah. No, it's 2010. Yeah, it's just on your computer. It's just like Word. No. Look, it's 2003. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah. You can embed videos if you do a video lecture. Anyway, that's another topic. I got too much other stuff. The other thing I want to share with you is I'm a Microsoft MVP, and I'll talk to you a little bit about that. But one of the fellow MVPs, I actually didn't know about this, but I was working with Steve Haley because he wanted to get an MDG box, and he looked at the price tag, and his grant didn't have enough money, and I was talking to some MVPs, and this one MVP said, oh, you know, I host all of Microsoft's labs for the learning partners. And if you need a virtual environment for Linux, Apple's not included, but Linux, Microsoft products, you want the Microsoft courseware, I can host it because I'm already doing it for the learning partners. And we haven't talked about pricing. I'm trying to give you an alternative to the NDG box, but he's talking maybe about $20 per student, per class, per semester. And I don't know how that compares with NDG. And if you have personal content or you have content that you have ISO images, you can just give them to him and then poof, they're available. At the Tech Ed conferences, Microsoft hires him. They bring in around 500 computers and they're doing labs for thousands of people during the week at Tech Ed. So it's Verasoft, and if you want more information about this, I just thought I'd share this with you. Okay, this isn't really his business model, but it looks like Steve Haley's going in this direction because it's much easier. And the great thing about it is he has nothing to maintain. It's all virtual. The other thing I've been experimenting with my students is using Microsoft Azure and having my students do Microsoft Labs in the cloud using free account with Azure. Okay. So let's talk about virtual tour of Microsoft Security Response Center, or MSRC. Right, so in November, Microsoft has what's called an MVP Summit. So I jump on my Southwest plane, and I'm not sure which mountain, but that's one of the ones going from here to Seattle. We wind up in Seattle where it's cold, right? We get on the freeway. We're going down to Redmond. I try to give you a little tour of Microsoft first. The campus, these are the MVPs. These are people from around the world that Microsoft has selected to give an award. And the award is for some contribution to the Microsoft community, and it could be good or bad. And Microsoft rewards everybody by giving us 4 days on Microsoft's campus, and we have complete, almost access to everybody and everything. And we're all under NDA, so I can't tell you, but I know a lot of stuff about Windows Next that's coming out that I can't share. But we all got together, and one of the highlights that I can't show you a picture of is that they brought in Satya Nadella. So, you know, that's big deal. In the past, they brought in Bill Gates, and they brought in Steve Ballmer. So there are about 4,000 of us, and we all have different disciplines. My area is in virtualization. So we hop on so Microsoft always asks, what would you like to know about? And I just said, oh, let's learn about the Security Response Center. And so sure enough, somebody said, okay, they arranged for the special tour of the Security Response Center. And I thought, oh, this isn't going to be that interesting, but hold on. So they dump us on a bus. We go to a place called, I think it's East Campus. Oh, so I put in a couple pictures. If you haven't seen the Microsoft campus, looks like any other school, except this is about the size of a city, right? They have cars that run around. They also have a chunk of the Berlin Wall. I thought that was interesting because we talk about security today. Anyway, the Security Response Center is located on a part of campus that's called Red West. And I thought this was kind of appropriate. No, Microsoft is not going to a dead end, but they've got a road there, so I just threw that in. But this is a picture of the building. The Security Response Center is in the building off to the left. And you can't really see it. Microsoft has all these little shuttle cars that are called Shuttle Connect that drive everybody all around. It's kind of great. All you do is you take your camera, you take a picture of the building, and then you say what building you want to go to, and GPS, poof, the guy, you know, shows up, kind of like Uber or Lyft, one of those guys. It's an amazing system. You have to card key in, and you go into the Cybercrime Center. I've been told that this was really a special deal to get inside, and it wasn't clear if we were allowed to take pictures or not. So what do? You take pictures. So this is the floor. You walk in, there's a Cybercrime Center. So the Cybercrime Center, even though it's on Microsoft's campus, there's Google, there's Apple, there's Interpol, there's FBI, there's Citibank, there's, you know, you name it, they're there. This has nothing really specifically to do with Microsoft. This is the whole industry. And I got to tell you, this is amazing. So you walk in, they have this nice little hallway, and on the right side, they kind of have a display of all these different attacks that have been going on. Somebody wanted a picture there, but they've got this little board because they bring in executives that may or may not know what's going on. They've got some counters that are counting attacks in real time. But before we go in here, let me kind of go through this a little bit. Anybody remember this? Right? So let's go back a little bit. So this is Brain A. Do you know what Brain A was? Yeah, well, the story I heard is this is the first virus. So a little history here. So this was Brain A, and if you go through and you look at the code, if you look really close someplace here, and I'm going to see it right now, the guy's address is here, right? So a software, right, back in, yeah, Lahore, Pakistan, he's got his phone number here. This was what, 25, 26 years ago? Security researcher goes, oh, I wonder what's here. He flies to Pakistan, knocks on the door, and here are the two guys that wrote the virus. They're still living there. Isn't that a great story? And it's exactly what they are. And he said, why did you do it? And they said, oh, you know, we were just having fun, right? So, I mean, it's amazing. They're running a software company in Pakistan. You remember Code Red? Okay, so Code Red, this was when it was early detection, right? Within 24 hours, this is what it looked like, right? We're talking software. Remember Fizzer? I'd be surprised if anybody does, okay? Fizzer was the first, oh, my thing got cut off. Fizzer was the first virus where people figured out you could profit from. So you could start making money off of this. So take a look at the virus writers, right? These are the guys writing like Fizzer or what evolved out, I mean, prior to Fizzer. You have a good look at them. Notice these guys? What's the difference? No. Suit, tie, they're professional. These guys, forgive me, a bunch of slobs, right? So we've from slob mentality to this is a real business, right? We can make money off of this. So we've evolved is what I'm trying to convey to you. So I don't know if, I didn't know about this story, but you know CSX, they're the company that runs the trains, all the trains in the U.S. to move cargo traffic. And sometime in 2000, I believe this was in 3, read this, but CSX informed everybody because the virus affected the network. It caused a worm, blah, 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 someplace. Anyway, it says we've, oh, here we go. As a result, passenger and freight traffic was halted immediately. This was in Washington, D.C. And it's like, oh, you know, these things kind of hit the news, but you never really think about it, okay? Stuxnet, right? Everybody's heard of Stuxnet. You know, this was missed by every single virus manufacturer for a year, right? And oh my gosh, we're off. Okay, sorry, okay. You're not seeing everything that I'm seeing. Okay, so Stuxnet we've now evolved, and we're now into warfare. Would you agree on that, with what's going on? So we went from somebody who wrote it on a floppy disk on, now we're in the big leagues here. So you take a look at some of the other, like Slammer, Blaster, Sasser, transportation power infrastructure, and what they're doing. They knocked out the 911 system someplace, Seattle, power plants. If you go back and you look, you'll find that in Australia, some hacker went in and dumped raw sewage out into the bay, like millions of gallons of raw sewage. So this isn't kids anymore, per se, but there's still kids involved in this. So let's keep going on. I'm BART. 2 days in a row. The 2 days I come to San Francisco, my BART train is delayed by half an hour because of medical emergency. It's like the whole system is shut down. We can't move because there's only one train track that goes from East Bay to West Bay, so we're stuck. Ever been on a BART train when it's been rebooted? I have. But I was caught. Yeah, I was caught in that too. But have you ever had the train stop and the train operator come on and say, "Attention, everybody, we're having a problem with the train. We're going to stop. We have to reboot the train." I said, "Wait a minute, reboot the train?" So sure enough, for 2 minutes, we're sitting in the tube, completely pitch black, right? And the train slowly comes back to life, and we go down the road. It's like, what? So, my little model train, you just push the button, you go forward, you go backward. I don't know why they have to add it. But I'm not a train operator. BART ticket machines, this picture was taken about a year ago. You take a look, Windows 2000 Professional. So we can laugh about that, but I believe that that's embedded. So it's a chip version. Okay. Anybody know about pass-the-hash attacks? They're called PTH. And let me see if I have some notes here. So pass-the-hash attacks are not really an attack. A pass-the-hash attack is where somebody, through cleverly kind of gets your password, right? So if somebody goes after a low-level account, they get a compromised machine, they start poking around in there to see if they can get a service or another account with elevated privileges. Okay, everything is working perfectly correct, meaning there's an authentication piece, there's a challenge where you say, what's the user account, what's the password, and this is the same scenario is if you go to like a parking lot that has a valet, you give the valet your key, and the guy makes a copy of the key, right? There are now two keys that work in the ignition. The ignition switch doesn't know whose fingers are on the key, and it'll work equally. That's exactly what's happening with pass-the-hash. It's not an attack. Everything is working as advertised or as it should. However, it's not a vulnerability, but it's a defect, if you will, on how we authenticate people. Okay, this one is a really interesting one. It affects every single industry, product, whatever that requires a password. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So Microsoft has found cases where it's been over a year to clear out all the accounts that are associated. Yeah. I think it's akin to it. Can we go with that? It's kind of related. So Windows 10, Microsoft mediated this, and the way that they're doing this is they're creating runs on your computer, and you authenticate to the microkernel, which then authenticates to the kernel. So, oh wait, I can't talk about that. Okay, let me go back. So what I'm kind of sharing with you is this is pretty interesting, you know, how we've evolved over time and just how difficult security is. And I was talking to Dan and a couple other people last night. You know, we're trying to teach kids, right, or our students to write secure code. And I thought, you know, that's a good message, but is it really practical? Because I'm going back and thinking of my students, how creative and clever they are. And it's like, think of the auto industry 100 years ago. You know, nobody, when they were inventing the first Stanley steamer, thought, oh, we should put in seatbelts, right? It was like seatbelts. Tucker came up with seatbelts in, what, 1940? And they didn't get implemented until, what, 1960? And they weren't mandatory until 70? I'm making those numbers up, but roughly you get the time scale. What? Yeah, they were an option, right? It's like safety is an option. You take a look at Home Depot. I wrote an article a couple months ago about Home Depot attack. Do you know what Home Depot did after Target got attacked? Right? So what happens is Home Depot gets attacked, and if you look at the blogs and you look at the comments of Home Depot's IT department, it's like, we're screaming. You know, we've got the same problem that Target has. What did Home Depot say? Oh, we don't care. It costs too much. So they attacked. Same exact methodology, right? It's repeated. Nordstrom, same methodology. Now you got to ask, why aren't the credit card companies helping all of these companies? You know, are we really taking security seriously? Yeah. Right. But you're a bank. Why aren't the credit card companies helping Home Depot? Right. 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 Well, I know I'd start a war here. I'm good. I'm good. Wait. I'm going to run out of time. You know, I asked for a double session on this. I learned yesterday I should have had one. So really quickly, do you know what botnets are? And if you don't know what a botnet is, a master that's controlling a handful of computers, and then you have an army. And these were up in like the millions of computers. I don't know if you know, this just happened on Christmas. Let me look at my notes here. Botnet, bunch of kids went and attacked Xbox and PlayStation, took down the entire network, right? They then tweeted, if I'm not mistaken, my facts might be off on this a little bit, but you'll get the gist. They then tweeted about it, and Microsoft and PlayStation is down, and some company, Kim.com, said, oh, we'll give you some disk space. And they said, oh, okay. And they pulled the plug on the botnet. So here you got kids, and I don't know, are they high school, college, right? I'm calling them kids, right? Here they are, they're taking Sam's 10 lines of Python code. I'm making all this up. And here they can take down Microsoft and Sony. Is that crazy or what? So let me keep going on here. Anybody know about Citadel? And I'd never heard of this one until I was at Microsoft. But they have this map here that's like the red one. And it just goes, and I got the picture, but I don't. It shows how Citadel kept expanding around the world. And the one picture that I wish I had is, if you take a look, this is attacked, this is attacked, this is attacked, this is attacked, and not over here. And why is this over here? What? Yeah, that's where it originated. But how did they prevent the attack from occurring in Eastern Europe? This was brilliant. They looked at the language pack. It's Russian, we don't attack. Was that brilliant? I thought that was clever. Citadel botnet responsible for over $500 million and lost to people and businesses worldwide. And I actually missed this one. I didn't even hear about this one. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Let me keep moving on. So, here's the map, I guess. Western Europe, this doesn't show, but it's Western Europe. Moscow was it, but Eastern Europe, for the most part, wasn't. So every year, approximately 4 million people are victims of cyber crimes. Whatever cyber crimes means, this is Microsoft's definition. So, we might debate that a little bit. Bottom line, according to Microsoft, their figures, cyber crimes cost every single person in the world, even starving children in Africa. This was the figure a year ago, $150. The figure is today, as of November, it's $300. So in 1 year, it's doubled. But it gets worse. I mean, better. My presentation. Okay. Consumers, you ready for this, will waste 1.5 billion hours dealing with malware from counterfeit software. And I thought, yeah, my students are pirating software. I watch them download stuff. We all watch them download stuff, right? Problem is, it's filled with malware. But this gets better. Anybody know about La Familia? These guys in Mexico, the drug guys going around. Everybody should know about all the murders they're committing. La Familia gets involved in manufacturing Microsoft software, right? And so one of the games that they played was spot the Microsoft counterfeit software. And so I went out for $8. You can buy a little black light, and you can shine it on the Microsoft software and figure it out. And I got to tell you, they gave us a box, and I've seen counterfeit software, but it is really, really difficult to spot counterfeit software. This stuff was so good that I believe the story they told us is stores like Walmart was selling this. And you ready for this? If you look real close, right up here, this is a special La Familia edition. It's got their logo on it. So it's being sold for a premium. So La Familia is now getting money in and paying nothing to Microsoft. So what is this doing to our society is really what the question is. This is where I kind of got, knocked upside my head and thought, this is more than harming Microsoft, because now we're talking about drugs, right? We're talking human trafficking. They're also involved, I believe, in child pornography. There's this whole underground world that's going on that we don't have a clue about, and that's what my talk is about. This is La Familia. This is all up there. This is all counterfeit software that Microsoft confiscated. If you take a look, this is dead on. It is really difficult. And one of the flaws I noticed was that they put too much of Microsoft's address on the box. Because I've seen enough of the real software and put in Redmond, Washington, zip code, USA. And I thought, wait, the real box doesn't have that. So I did pretty good on the spot counterfeit software. Okay, I talked to James. I don't know if he's here, but James, you told me the child pornography is what, half? How much traffic? Yeah, so it's the majority of traffic on the Tor network, if you can believe that. And I have a hard time, I think all of us have a hard time believing that, but to me, that's unbelievable. That's a number I didn't know about. So do you know about Art Williams? This is a great book. So Art Williams was a kid. His mother, and all adults here, but we're going to get kind of graphic here. His mother was a hooker. And one of the customers happened to be a pretty good counterfeiter. And the mother had a kid whose name was Art. And Art was robbing 7-Eleven and doing kind of petty crimes. And he said, boy, you're going to get in a lot of trouble doing these little petty crimes. If you're going to do a crime, go big, right? Do a counterfeiter, become a counterfeiter. And so Art was taught the art of counterfeiting. And Art was so good at doing it that he's made, we don't know how much money that's out there that's fake. And it's close to $1 billion is what I'm hearing. And you ready for this? This was absolutely brilliant. If you haven't read the book, you should read the book. But Art would go around, make fake $100 bills with his girlfriend. They do these shopping sprees where they drop $5,000, $10,000 at a shopping mall, and they buy like a pack of gum with a $100 bill, and then the girlfriend would say, "Oh, I want a pack of gum too." And instead of taking the change, they whip out another $100 bill. So I started getting all this stuff from the shopping malls, passing fake $100 bills. They then go around to the back and they just throw it away. And the girlfriend said, we grew up in the projects. What we really should do is we should give this to everybody in the project, right? So now they take the fake money, they buy all this product, they then give it to people in the community in projects where they live low income, and the mayor comes out and goes, "Art, this is fantastic. You're so nice to the community. We're going to name a park after you." And they did. But it turns out the Art's money was being sold to Chinese mafia, to La Familia. It was going to all these underground, gangs or Russian mafia that are all out there. And it's a way of exchanging kind of internet money for real money, or fake money to real money. And I don't really, understand. I'm not in law enforcement to understand this, but the bottom line is, think about this. I live in San Francisco. We've got all these malls. But if you go out to some place like Fresno, middle of the state, so bad place. But how many malls do you have in Fresno? Yeah, so what happens if Art comes in there, they dump, $20,000, $50,000 in fake $100 bills, it'll knock out a lot of those businesses, the small businesses, those malls. What does it do for your community? That's really what we need to start thinking about. This goes well beyond, even though this is computers, this goes well beyond, with just IT infrastructure. And we're now in this world economy. We're also in a world criminal economy too. Let me keep going here. Anybody know Guyana? Have you seen this? Ghana? Thank you. So this is a dump site. This is where all your e-waste goes. Right? So we put it on a ship, we ship it over to Ghana, they then burn it so that they can get the precious metals out, and they get about $1 per computer. Oh, this is good for our atmosphere, isn't it? Okay, they then take the pieces that they can, they put them together to make computers, they sell them at a flea market. But wait, the story gets better. This is unbelievable. So oil is discovered. Who's the king of oil in Africa? It's the Nigerians. Who's the king writing the best spam emails? It's the Nigerians. And if you do a little bit of history, you'll find the Nigerians have gone back over 200 years in writing these scam emails. It's unbelievable. I didn't know it went that far back. That's a different story. So the Nigerians are now in Ghana, and what's also in Ghana? That was a British colony where all the fiber links, or a number of fiber links, enter into Africa. So now you've got what are called the Sakawa boys. And the Sakawa boys are now going crazy doing these email scams. And the two scams that they're after is, one is, I'm a hot Russian, or I'm a hot babe, send me all your money, and people are doing that like crazy. Or the other one is the traditional Nigerian scam, I'm a prince and I've got a box of money buried in my yard. This is really sad. I've gone into my Safeway store where they have money order, where you can issue a money order, buy a money order. And the people at Safeway tell me that these mostly elderly women come in, they'll buy a $3,000 money order and they'll send it off to Africa. And I said, but don't you know? And they said, yep, but we can't tell them. And they said that we'll see the same woman come in week after week after week, 3,000, 3,000, because I believe 3 is the max they can send, over and over and over again. So this is harming us. You know, this stuff is really harming us. So the Sakawa boys go to a priest. And I couldn't believe this. But the Juju priest blesses them to get a good return on their email scams. And the Juju priests are paid. Right? And so this is a complete another story. You can go on the internet, YouTube, Vice Video has a whole bit on the Sakawa boys. I now make all my students watch this. And they come back to me and they go, oh, I can't believe it. The video's well done. I should tell you there's strong language in there. Anybody know about the Sands Casino hack? That just got released. And it's estimated right now 400,000, which is kind of chump change. But who attacked? Iran. So it's the Palestinian, the owner of the Sands Hotel is backing, you know, it's a political war is what this has come out to. So this is no longer kids writing code, is what I'm getting at to. So let's go back to the Cyber Center. You got to buzz in, but anybody see this? Your chip. And you got literally kids that have figured out how to take incredibly toxic chemicals and a hole in the top of a chip to expose the gold wire so that they can go in there and attach to them and get the code. Okay, so yesterday I was talking about how BitLocker is secure if you have a TPM chip. This is like a TPM chip, which is supposed to be secure, indestructible, but here they've proven there's no security with the TPM chip. It burned through, if I recall, over 100 chips. Now this is kind of an open source effort that's going on. These are called chip decappings. And what they do is the first guy who came up with this, perfected it, he said it took about 6 months. It was a great story. He went to his dentist, had him x-ray the chip so he could see where the gold wires were. They figured out the mask. He was able to figure out exactly where he needed to burn the chemicals. He bought this stuff that's, and I forgot what it is, but he's dealing with nitric acid. He's also dealing with another compound that I can't remember. It's like hydrofluorine. And he said, you got to be really careful with this because if you drop any of it on your skin, it takes calcium out of your bones. And what will happen is your bone will shrink. And he showed a picture of this guy who had some on his finger. And you could see one finger was substantially shorter than the other. So he said, if you do this, be careful. But the recipes are all online. And there's a blog site. He's telling you how to build the apparatus. You go to a dental supply store to buy these chemicals. And, you know, he tells you what DuPont rubber to buy. And so now there's this group that's doing this, trying to figure out how to hack chips. Pretty interesting. So this is Microsoft Security Response Center. This is outside. And this building right here, this glass is 2 inches thick. It's also got a screen through it, so no RF can get in it. This is where they do the actual investigations, if you will. So, oh, no, I got to have more time. So this is what we were allowed to see, right? But then they uncrossed the glass, and I took a look here, and it's like, holy smoke, that's a microphone. What the heck are you doing with that? And they said, oh, we're able to take DVDs, and we can figure out, because when a DVD burns, CD-ROM, DVD, whatever it is, when they burn, there's a signature pattern for every DVD reader just in the, you know, anomalies in the manufacture of the DVD drive. So they say that they can go in here with a regular microscope. They can look at the pits and the valleys, or whatever they call them on the DVDs, and they can tell exactly which DVD drive created that disk. So that's what they're doing here. That's what this machine is. If you want to do this experiment with your students, you can do it. Take a CD-ROM DVD, hold it at a 45-degree angle, point a laser, just, you know, $3 laser that you can get, you know, one of these guys. Point it at the DVD. You can see it bounce down on a table. You can actually measure the pits and the valleys. Pits and lines? Lands, yeah, lands. Okay. So I had my students doing that, and I found somebody, I think in India, has this as a lab exercise where students actually do the measurement and they can put the bits together to form a byte and figure out what's on the DVD. It's like, whoa, that's pretty good. So I want to go to our biology department. You know where I'm at, right? We got to try this. Let's see if that's look at pictures over here. This is a vault. So this is where all the cases are. So when they have, and they get computers from all over the world, they lock them in here, hard drives. This is giant board over here. This is attacks that are going on. Notice East Coast, Western Europe. I was actually surprised they let us take these pictures. I wasn't able to show you is Microsoft has what are called hotel rooms. And they're little office cubicles that are completely encased and completely secure, that if somebody like Citibank comes in there, they're working on a case, they bring all the computers, they bring everything into that room, and they start working on it. Not a lot. They didn't tell us to do that. I can tell you that no radio waves be able to enter or exit from this room here. Outside, I don't think it's an issue. This is where they do the actual investigation. And we were not allowed in here. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so I worked at Lawrence Labs. I know what you're talking about. This is not that area because this is more investigative, I think. I don't know. Can I continue or otherwise? No, because Interpol is their FBI. This is where they're, well, so these are Microsoft employees, but there's other like hotel rooms where Citibank comes in, they have a key, their material is all in there. Once the investigation is over, they leave. So it's more temporary, but they say some of these cases might go on for 9 months, and they'll have Interpol, Citibank, and they're looking. Okay, let me keep going. This is a picture right here. This building is bomb-proof, and it's like, what? You don't need no bomb-proof. It's bulletproof glass, you know, all that kind of stuff. So their partners are law enforcement, business, anybody. Apple, Cisco, they're all in there. If you take a look, this was you can't up to the top. We're United States is #1 in terms of today's total number of infected computers. These counters reset every 24 hours. So again, we're #1, followed by China, Brazil. Okay, this was really fascinating. So Microsoft has, this is a surface right here. There's a camera here, and then this is a jumbotron, you know, one of those wall TV things. So this is whatever this is, 8-9 feet tall. This is one of the 62-inch, you know, $70,000-$80,000 surface where it's all touch screen. So you're standing here. This is like in the deck of the Star Trek, right? You can flip the world around, and all of these are sections that are going on current. So this is real time. You take a look here. They've got the world spinning, so we could flip it around. You could look at different parts of the world, so you can see Western Europe is really infected. But what was really neat is you could then check on a specific type of attack, and you could drill in, and you could find out exactly where the ISP demarc is. So in some cases, they can get to an actual building. So in this case, we're drilling in, this is Microsoft's campus on both sides here. So we're drilling in, and they had a pseudo attack that we were able to find where the ISP was located. This is really neat. This is Excel 2013 with the geo add-in. this was not made for the Security Response Center, but the Security Response Center said, hey, that's a neat tool. We should be using it. They have these giant maps, and as you look, you can see these points that are sticking up, right? And these are different types of tasks. And the height of the rod, the length of the line is how many attacks there are from that specific area. One of the interesting things that Microsoft told us was one of the places where they had a lot of attacks going on, or a lot of license activations, was in the middle of Iowa. Like one of these, bars was just shooting off, and they thought, Iowa? Why would hundreds of thousands of Windows software programs be activated in Iowa? And I thought, I don't know, ISPNs there. So it turns out that it's people stealing Microsoft product keys. They then attempt to activate once to make sure the key is good, and then they sell them. So they're stolen product keys. So if you buy on eBay, Amazon, what? It depends on the scale. I don't know. Anyway, we keep going around here. Here's U.S. Nobody cares about the middle of the coast. You look what's going on. Brazil, is a really big hot spot. You take a look here. Okay. So before I finish, let me kind of bring up some other things. I got a few minutes here. I've made some notes last night. Anybody hear about NASA's or NSA's Dirt Box? So Dirt Box is attached to the bottom of a Cessna airplane. They're flying over all the U.S. cities. They've been doing this for a number of times. They're a fake cell site. And what happens is your phone will pair with their with the Dirt Box, and they collect data on you. And NSA said, we've optimized the software to minimize interruptions to 911 calls. It's like, what do you mean interruption? You're saying I'm getting shot or I'm having a heart attack, and all of a sudden the plane flies over. I'm kind of locked in. Some other things I was thinking about security is, I don't know if you know this, but all private aircraft up until about the 80s, last time I checked, all had the same key. So if you had a Cessna airplane, like a 150, a 172, the key was exactly the same. Didn't matter which plane you had. Somebody could correct me on that. We talked about, okay, so Lizard Squad. So I just heard this last night, Snowden. There's more information coming out from him. Anybody hear about that? No. So here's another interesting fact. The Sony attack that's going on. I don't know if people know this. North Korea only has 1,024 IP addresses. It's like, how could they, the question is, how could they launch that attack? Yeah, so their ISP is through China. You're right. Exactly. Yeah, that's a good point. I never thought about that. What? Okay. One other thing that, really, I was thinking about this, talking with you, Dan, is, electronic attacks leave very little physical evidence. If you go and you take a brick, you throw it through, store window, your DNA is in there, but an electronic attack, you could go down to a library and do the attack, and boof, you're gone. Okay, let me think, what else do I have? Okay, I think I'll call it quits. Wait, one more thing. Wait, sorry. So I, last spring, I guess, I went out to Iowa, and there's Iowa State University has created a cyber defense competition, and they call it Ice Age. And the professor there, his name is Doug, I forget his last name. Who? Yeah, Doug Jacobson is releasing his software. I just got an email this morning saying that the software he's just polishing it up. So if you want to have cyber competitions at your college, you can download the software. Theoretically, it's all self-contained, all set, ready to go. And Dan, do you know more? Or yeah. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so the software is available. I have an academic mailing list. If you want to jump on the mailing list, let me know, or Percy in the back, give me your address. Or there you go. Right. So I've got the mailing list for Ice Rink for Doug, for everybody that was out there. It's called Ice Rink. The other thing, or Ice Age, he calls his stuff Ice Rink. Yeah, okay. I'm going to run out of time. Let me think. B-Sides conference is coming here. I'm trying to get some competitions with Sam going together with B-Sides at the RSA conference that's coming up.